Welcome to Amazon Answers, the live show where I outline some of the most underrated runs and stories of our favorite character, Diana Themyscira. And this week, I am going to be outlining a recent run that I just got done reading, the John Byrne run of Wonder Woman. Now, whenever we're talking about Wonder Woman runs, we always hear about Rucka, Perez, and Jimenez and such. We don't really hear about Byrne that much in terms of like a pretty solid run, because let me put it to you this way. When I actually read it, this thing is actually very enjoyable. And there is a lot in this run that's established that is referenced even today, especially one factor here. Hey, what's up, Sage? A happy Sunday to you too, brother. And there's a lot in this run that is very much established, and interestingly enough, will play a very important role as Wonder Woman going forward. So let's start by saying, so this was one of the runs, and by the way, it's an awesome run. Let me put it to this way. It's one of my favorites, as a matter of fact, it's gotten to. So John Byrne is a creator that had just finished doing Superman, because he had like relaunched Superman with the Man of Steel series and a little bit of the Superman series post-Crisis. And they eventually offered him the job of Wonder Woman. Now, here's what John Byrne does really well, and this is immediately apparent when you're reading this run. He does the gods really, really, really well. Like, he understands how to write mythic characters, but also write them in a way where they feel human. And that's the really funny part about this, because like he would overly humanize Superman, as you can tell. But when you're doing this, because one of the things that like he does is he links the Olympian gods to the new gods, which, looking back on it, this is something, and when I was talking to Robert about this, he and I both agree, it's like, this is something that should have been like a thing from the very beginning. It's like, it's one of those, a lot of his run is stuff that's like, oh yeah. So that's why I was like, wait a minute here. Now, here's the big thing that is established in this run that is also carried over into today, particularly with like the new history of the DC universe. So in this run, Diana dies. Like, she falls against the creature Neron and she like dies, but she comes back as like the goddess of truth. But she can't be Wonder Woman anymore. So who takes over as Wonder Woman? Hippolyta. And then what they established through time travel is that Hippolyta was the first Wonder Woman fighting in World War II. And then that's like how Diana got the name Wonder Woman and such. So that's the thing. And here's, I can understand to a degree why some people had problems with that. But the issue is Wonder Woman in and of itself has always was a, like, what's the word? Always was a legacy character. Like, again, the whole like Wonder Woman, the mantle was created as like an Amazonian like mantle that was passed over to the champion that would venture over into man's world. This is established in the very first issue of even Marston's Wonder Woman. So it's not like it's a new thing that was established. So let's go with that first. Second off, so you have the idea of like Hippolyta's Wonder Woman relatively briefly, considering this run, but obviously all this is collected because the run went on for like 3 years. He was on Wonder Woman for 3 years. That's about 36 issues. And he would significantly expand. This is also the first appearance of Cassie Sandsmark. Must have one was no. What I mean, NJ, is that it's established there that the Wonder Woman like identity, the champion of the Amazons, is a mantle passed down to different warriors, because she goes to the champ. Because remember, she goes through a contest in order to gain the right to be that champion. The Wonder Woman mantle is that champion. That's what I'm talking about. I know it's Diana and not Hippolyta, but it's like it's the idea that that's where it's established the idea that she is like that is kind of a mantle. So there is that. So let's go off of that. But the other thing that I really love about this is Diana is the center of this run. I have to keep saying that because the current run, she's not. And here's the thing. This furthers my thesis that there has not been a bad post-crisis run for Wonder Woman. There have been some that have been forgettable and maybe not as not amazing, but none of them have been like, oh, that sucked. And that's not to say they haven't had stories that were horrible, because obviously Amazon's attack happened in post-crisis Wonder Woman, but the overall runs have been pretty dope. Yeah, Cassie's debut was one of the best things. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she looked very different. I prefer the modern one right now because it's like, that's just the one I grew up with. But I think that what had happened is he created like Helena Sandsmark and Cassie because, remember, Julia Capitalis is dead at this point, and Vanessa is a supervillain known as the Silver Swan at this point. So I could see he wanted to get back like that relationship of Diana having two women that she can consider like her guides and friends. I could see that he would want to have that back and like essentially like revert that without undoing the death. So that's one of the ways that's one of the reasons why I think like that exists, that those characters were created. Beyond the fact that also Cassie is actually a really good character. It's like her wanting to be like a superhero and such. And Rocco would later expand on as to who her father is. So that's going to be very interesting to discuss. That I discussed when I talked about Rocco, because as we know, Cassie's like father is Zeus, the king of the gods. So that's kind of that. And that was also one of the critiques of the Zeus origin. Hey, what's up, Robert? Robert, if you want a link, I'll send you a link. But yeah, it's like, it's the idea. But I have to tell you, him sacrificing the Capitalis family for Cassie, he didn't do that. That wasn't him. I'm just saying he wanted to bring that concept back. But what had happened was, it's like he couldn't, because I guarantee you he probably asked that to DC editorial, and they said no. So he thought, okay, I'm going to create another version. I'm going to create someone that fulfills that role. Hey, what's up, Naxion? How are you? But that's like the idea that I kind of had with that. Check your DM though. Okay. Oh yeah, I saw that, Robert. That's cool. I appreciate that. But yeah, that's like kind of my concept, my 2 cents on that. But there is so much in this that is great. Like my favorite arc is actually near the beginning, where this father-son is badly injured in like an accident. So the father wants to basically build his son a new body, comic books. So what he does is he puts the kid's consciousness into essentially a video game, into like a simulation. But the kid starts like creating simulations of like supervillains like Sinestro, even the Flash, and has them fight Wonder Woman because he thinks he's playing a video game. He doesn't know what he's doing is real. To the point where he creates Doomsday, and Wonder Woman has to fight Doomsday. And this is where like Cassie Sandsmark first fights alongside her. And I love where like Superman is watching TV and he sees Doomsday and he goes, oh no. But yeah, so I'm going to pull up the actual like art from it so we can like appreciate it, because John Byrne, the other thing I love about John Byrne is his art style is like, he's one of those mega detail like artists that I think it like deserves more credit than he gets. So we're going to go to that. It's like she also hung out in Gateway City by her. Look at that first image of Diana. How gorgeous he was. I wish I knew why DC hates Perez run so much. It was the Wonder Woman run. It's because too many creators want to have the effect on the character that Perez had. So they keep trying to like either undermine it or like trying to surpass it like like King is. And that's the problem. Yeah, it's not that they hate it; they just want to surpass it. That's a good point, Robert. But it's like no one really gets that you can't surpass that. You can just honor it. And the problem is whenever they say that like they want to honor the Perez run, that I have a very hard time believing that. And by the way, drop a like on the stream and like spread that, and consider becoming a member, because if you become a member, you get a lot more Wonder Woman content. So then we get a lot more like art of Wonder Woman, like being a badass, crushing guns. And I really just love Byrne is one of those artists that whenever I look at an image by him, it's always like my first reaction is, how the hell do you maintain a regular schedule but still maintain this like level of detail? I don't like the way Diana has curly wavy hair. Well, she did in early post-crisis, so it's not like that's just a Byrne thing. Hippolyta's Wonder Woman in the long run was a great idea for the JSA tie. Yeah, because here's the thing about that, and I'll go off of what Robert said. Because they're determined to have a Wonder Woman on the Justice Society. And since I hate the idea of Diana herself being like old as dirt by the time the Justice League stories happen, this is the compromise that we have to go with. And honestly, it's a pretty good compromise. And it explains why Diana and why Hippolyta would be so hesitant sending Diana into Man's World, because as far as she knows, Man's World hasn't changed from the horrors that she saw during World War II. Think of it like this: the jaded nature of Diana in like Batman versus Superman, that is like Hippolyta. At this point, Parker says, "Hello, friends. Just want to say, love the art style. And this is accurately underrated era for Wonder Woman." Yeah, exactly, Parker. And yeah, it's like, again, look at all this detail and the way that he draws her so well. It can never have Superman in the JSA, so Wonder Woman's the only logical one to keep. Yeah, and they also can't have Batman, so it's like they kind of have to. So it's like, of the ways that they could have, because they're determined to have a member of the trio on the JSA, this is the compromise that we need, that we have to like accept. And honestly, it's pretty easy to accept it and have a pretty dope story to go along with it. So it's really, really, really cool. Plus, think about the other stories that are kept. Like you can like Our Worlds at War, a significant portion of that is what happens to Hippolyta and Diana. So you can really like expand on that. So then you have, so she fights an automata, and then again, so Darkseid's idea is he tortures Diana because he thinks she has the location of the anti-life equation, which again is the equation that will allow Darkseid to dominate the free will of others. And she escapes and like destroys Apocalypse. That the JSA's tributes to her in Our Worlds at War was great. Yeah, and I'll talk about that because I definitely plan on doing streams on Wonder Woman's role in other stories and like their effect, because she plays, ironically, in a Superman story, Wonder Woman plays a very important role in Our Worlds at War. So we'll talk about that for sure. And we get to see Apocalypse. And again, John Byrne is like an incredible artist. There's one other thing, ladies and gents, in that I will explain later, because I'm going to talk about it in this stream, because it's John Byrne's take on Wonder Woman in general. He did the Daughter of Wonder Woman significantly better than Tom King does. So Tom King is so, and Robert knows what I'm talking about with Stevie. And oh boy, when Robert and I went over like Generations, that was one of the points that like really stood out to me. And I'll point that out as we go. But then we see like Stevie, thank you. Then we see like Wonder Woman fights Superman, and sometimes with DC Universe it does that. And it's like Wonder Woman battles like a premonition of Superman. And we get the like history of the New Gods. And again, he fits it into like a couple of pages with Metron. And Diana shows up on Paradise Island and sees it's been wrecked by Darkseid. Because again, he's trying to find the anti-life equation. Look at that. It's like, again, that is a great image of Diana. Because Byrne gets the other thing about Diana is that some artists tend to draw her too muscular and too much of a muscle mommy, for lack of a better term. Now, the thing about Diana that I think is like really, really cool is the way he draws Diana is he gets that balance really well, because she's still like feminine, but she's also like real, but she also has that like warrior physique really well. And John Byrne has always been really good at writing women, at drawing women. My only critique is that sometimes, and the emphasis is on sometimes that he can get a little too much of same face syndrome. So that's the issue that that's the only issue that I really have. But it's like when he goes ham on drawing, like, look at this. Yeah, again, he draws so detailed. I'm just like, how the hell do you get like do you maintain a regular work schedule? Like, it never ceases to blow my mind with this. And it's like you see like Wonder Woman with her army of Amazons and such, and the coloring, every bit of this is superb art. And again, no one can ever accuse John Byrne of not drawing a pretty dope image of Wonder Woman. Now, so let's talk about, I know everyone's going to ask about this. Let's talk about, I'm going to go to the volume that features, he uses art chats like standard models. If you look, you'll see similar male designs. Yeah, art cheats. Yeah, exactly. Which I'm like, okay, that's fair enough. But it's like, again, it's like you can manage that well of a detail on like a regular schedule. That in and of itself is nothing short of inspiring. And again, it proves why he is one of the most like famous comic book artists around. It's like, remember, this man was on the peak of his game doing a lot of like X-Men art as well with Claremont in the original thing. So I'm just gonna, okay, John Byrne. So let me get to the volume where Diana dies, and then we can talk about Hippolyta's role, because actually what would happen is, so Diana's World War II, and so Hippolyta dies, and what had happened was, yeah, here we go. So Diana dies and Hippolyta takes over, and Hippolyta is gifted the armor by Diana. Like, she is chosen by Diana, if I remember correctly, when Diana is like the goddess of truth. And Hippolyta, so here's like the Diana being injured, and here's like electric blue Superman, and Robert and I just got PTSD from red and blue, and she gets like killed by Neron. And there's no like mental activity. So what you discover is she eventually like falls apart. Like, I don't want to say decomposes, but gets turned into like, I guess like sand as well. But by the way, he was also Julia and Vanessa. So that's actually really cool. I guess they didn't die. But anyway, so Diana is brought back as the goddess of truth. And what would happen with that, the reason why that matters is the reason why that's actually really cool is because, again, Diana, I say this all the time about Diana's devotion to truth is why she is the most important DC character. And it's like the idea that she gets to become the living embodiment of that. Also, this is the run that brings Artemis back to life, because here's the thing with that story. Artemis was created to take over for Diana, and then she is killed while she's Wonder Woman, and then she remains dead until Byrne brings her back. To make it clear, the reason behind Hippolyta's one was purely for the JSA time travel, because editors refused to do it with Diana. Yeah, exactly. So again, you see she travels back in time. Hippolyta travels back in time and fights in World War II alongside the Justice Society. And then she stays there for about a week, and that's Hippolyta as Wonder Woman. And you can tell because the breastplate has the more, like, for lack of a better term, fat eagle wings. And she stays there for, I believe it's about a week. I want to say that's the amount of time, and maybe she went back in time, went back and forth. But the point is, she stays in there for a time, and that's also linking to the Jimenez run, when Jimenez talks about everything Hippolyta did as Wonder Woman, like founding girls groups like the Girl Scouts, and like really having a positive influence on Earth during that time period. So it's not like this idea was not revisited and expanded on by like subsequent writers and everything like that. No, it happened many times. It really wasn't like one of those ideas that they just did and forgot about. That's the fun. That's the great part about it. It's like they really, it became something that they did to make it, to give Wonder Woman as a concept a vast legacy that links to like close to a century of positivity being brought to the DC universe. So when people say it lessens Diana's Wonder Woman or lessens Wonder Woman, it doesn't. If anything, it enriches it and gives her a more positive influence throughout the entire DC universe. So that's really a significant like boost, if you will, to Wonder Woman. So in the meantime, you guys can start dropping your questions about John Byrne's Wonder Woman. And while you do that, I'm going to drop the trailer for Athena real quick.
My home has been invaded, my people slaughtered, and I could not do anything to stop it. Not again. I will not lose another home, another family. I am Princess Lyra of the planet Centragar, Athena, the goddess of thunder, and this is my story.
And then I will drop the link in the chat so you guys can support it. Yeah, I'm going to that, Robert. So let me go. I think it was which generations was it where Stevie showed up? Let me do that. It was Generations 2. Okay. Let me pull that up. So I'm going to go to Generations 2. Yeah, here we go. All right. So you guys are going to love this. So this is the level of why John Byrne is the better creative than Tom King. So look at this. So we're going to scroll down. So scroll down. First off, again, fantastic art drawn by Byrne. And I'm just waiting for this to load. Sometimes it takes a while. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Because again, Generations is what if the... Okay, so here's what happens. So you have Diana. So essentially, it's still like Steve shows up, but like he dies. That's the key point of this. And also the advantage of this is that Steve dies. And Diana, I believe, so what happens is that, so Diana has a kid. Stevie is Wonder Girl in issue 3. Yeah, okay. He also gave Hippolyta godlike feats as she's Diana herself. I like Hippolyta's queen of the Amazons being that powerful. Recently, in Endless Winter, she punched Black Adam across the city with no issue. I know, right? Isn't that awesome? So this is like, okay, here we go. Hang on. So the idea was like the traditional heroes were like on the JSA. And then you see, okay, I'm just scrolling down to see where Steve dies here. So here's Steve Trevor, crash lands, dies. And then Diana has a kid. Let me get to where that is. Diana eventually will have a child and name her Stevie after Steve Trevor. But here's the thing. It's not, and by the way, there is Stevie right there. Here's the thing. It's not as Steve worship as you would think. That's what I want to be very clear about. Let me get to that. Yeah, it's like there's Diana and here's Stevie, and she's the Wonder Girl of like this world. And again, I just want to be very clear about this. Even though she's named after Steve Trevor, she's not like, it's not like Steve Trevor's the only like influence. In fact, here's the thing. It's like they don't really talk about Steve Trevor that much in this. And then, so she's Wonder Girl. And the main team, like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and the team are the Justice Society. And then later on, the Titans of this Earth will become the Justice League. See, right there. Because it's a commentary on the fact that when Julie Schwartz was like modernizing the DC universe, he felt that like the society was not really like hip. Like it sounds too like for old people, for like society. So he goes, kids like leagues, like a baseball league, a football league. So let's create a Justice League. And that's where the Justice League. Did they show her fighting while pregnant in this run? Robert, did they in Generations? I can't remember. I don't think so. So then what we see, I'm going ahead because I want you to see Stevie's Wonder Woman design, because this is significantly better than even Trinity's design. I know I'm harping on this, but John Byrne does this so much better. So let me get to that. All right. So that should be, let me see, issue 3. Let's go to issue 3 and see if Trinity is there. Okay, so there she is. Look at that. Isn't that cool? And there's a zoomed in version of that later, but look at that. And then we see, let me get to that point. Yeah, right there. Look, so this is Stevie, aka Wonder Woman. Like, so she has the cape and such, and she's not like a overachieving B word. She is essentially the anti-Trinity Trinity. In other words, she is an actual tolerable character. Yeah, SHR was replaced by a Wonder Girl copy of herself. Okay, yeah, she was. Okay, so, and then what I like here is, she essentially, this is a live feed of Stevie encountering Trinity.
Hereby complete the mission of the Amazons by ridding this world of you forever.
Yep. That's how much that like Stevie destroys it. It seems Steve's genes were stronger. No. Robert, please explain it. Okay, it's not like she gets the what. Well, here's the thing. Also, this is the other point of comparison. Trinity is also Steve's daughter. So what that does is, I'm like, okay, let's. Because what I like to do and make a comparison is if you look at like a similar scenario, a similar situation. Also, Stevie, all Stevie game was blonde hair. Yeah, exactly. So here's the interesting thing. Here's why I do this. Because Stevie has the same parentage as a Lizzie Prince, but as you can see, she's much better. It's like the exact same like analogy here. And that's one of the things that like I really dig about this, because it's showing that, look, it wasn't the concept of Diana having a daughter that was the issue. It's the way King executed it, because all of this, here's the difference. With John Byrne, Stevie even fought and trained for 1,000 years, which is why she wasn't there to save Supergirl. Yeah, exactly. So here's the thing about Stevie. You see, as opposed to Trinity, this series, if I could summarize it with Diana, it's about mothers and daughters, not fathers and daughters. Diana takes center stage as the parent of Stevie. So Stevie is more worthy of the title of daughter of Wonder Woman than Elizabeth will ever be, because this focuses on Diana raising Trinity and training her and making her like essentially another Wonder Woman. It's really, really, really like, it's very interesting to see it. It helps that Diana was pregnant before Steve's death. Yeah, she was. So Steve contributed nothing biologically to her. So that's the really crazy part about it. Yeah, so that's what I really want to emphasize on that. So that's the thing. Again, just remember that is the really cool like part about this. Again, this proves that the execution, that the concept is possible. You just have to make Diana a central point, which we all know King is incapable of doing because he really wants to write Steve Trevor. That's the thing. That's what you guys have to understand. No, he wasn't. He did contribute biologically, but she wasn't conceived out of depression. Okay. That's the better part about that, because she was because like no, she named Diane. She named Stevie. Her name is really Stephanie, but people call her Stevie. It was as a tribute to him. It's kind of like how Diana was named Diana as a tribute to, I think it was Steve's grandmother or mother who had crash landed and saved like the Amazons or something like that. So it's kind of homaging that, but it's doing it so much well. It's not depression. That's the point there. It's not like, I'm so sad Steve died. Anyway, I'm going to make a kid. It's not that. It's actually, she's having a daughter is awesome if the writer loves. Yes. And here's the thing. As much as I would love for DC to retcon Trinity out and never reference her and like make her non-canon, it is possible that like they could salvage the character and like either retcon or like straight up ignore a lot of what King did. And guess what? You can salvage this. Do I think that it's possible that the fan base would go along with that? That's another factor entirely. They could. Let me be clear on that. They could, but still not really like convinced yet. It could be. I'm totally like willing to like give that a shot if it really works. Let me put it that way. Personally, I have no problem. Steve contributes biologically, but but it's like my problem with it, NJ, is that the way DC handles it, they make it like Steve is the most important part of Diana's life. And here's the thing with this, it's more thematically relevant to Diana's role with and Diana's what Diana represents if she doesn't if her daughter is not biologically born but born out of like the clay origin. And he says, remember my Wonder Woman miniseries idea I told you about? The subplot would be have Trinity meet Stevie and get a wake-up call and Stevie mentors her. Yep, that would work. I would love that. Yeah, so that is a fantastic way to do it. And actually, I'm thinking of doing a Wonder Woman Wednesday about this. Of like, since they're starting to cross over the Absolute universe with the main universe, like they're teasing it, I want to do a video on if Absolute Wonder Woman met real Wonder Woman and what advice she would give like King's Wonder Woman, like to kind of shake her out of her funk. So I'm considering doing that. But it's like that's the point. It's like the potential is there. It's just the execution has been completely like completely wrecked, and it shouldn't be, because it's like, and here's the other part where this was wrecked and like completely destroyed. You don't tell people, you don't say to people, okay, the reason why Trinity exists is because Batman and Superman have kids. You don't tell people that, because that just makes her look like a derivative character and makes her look like Diana gets the sloppy seconds. You just say, hey, listen, you just essentially say that, like, okay, look, Diana, like, I figured that at a certain point, Diana should have a daughter because I feel like as a representative of like single moms and such, that could be really thematically like relevant for Diana, and I think it would add to her character. That's what you say, even if internally the reason why is because Batman and Superman have a kid, Wonder Woman should have a kid. You don't say that publicly. Like, are you an idiot? Like, I swear, King keeps stepping in his mouth, keeps like putting his foot in his mouth every time he tries to market the series. He is a shitty marketer. I still believe making Lizzie out of Clay and Diana. No, that's the fix. That is 100% the fix, NJ, of the origin of the creation. That is what you do, because it's like, that is 100% how I would fix that origin. The way I would do it, I'm going to pitch you the way I do it. The way I would do it is make it so Diana goes to do the thing. She prays to Hippolyta. The origin force that King created goes as planned up until it doesn't work. And Diana says, I don't understand. And then Hippolyta as a goddess appears before and says, Diana, you know that like, with you could say that like the clay of Paradise Island is like enchanted in that sense, but you know that to create a life out of clay and for it to be blessed by the gods, you cannot have like the seed of man even contribute to this. Essentially, you can say it nicer than that, but that's the point. And then Hippolyta says, you must do it the way I did. So Diana cuts her thumb, puts her thumb on the baby, and like the blood seeps in. She raises the clay in the air, and then the gods bless, and then that's how Trinity is born. Steve plays no role in it. You do not do that. And then that's how you fix the origin to make it much, much, much more in line with Diana. Because I'm sorry, it's like, let me put it this way. If the whole run had not been like Steve worship, it wouldn't have bothered me that much. Well, actually, it still would have, because I got news for you. It still bothers me when like you take the origin that is like so much about like female empowerment and then you completely crap on it. For me, I remove the Hippolyta part, not Aphrodite or Athena. No, but symbolically, it has to be Hippolyta, NJ, because Hippolyta created Diana out of clay. So it plays off of that. You know, going by Perez's Wonder Woman, technically Diana is the reincarnation of Hippolyta's unborn child she was carrying when she died. Yeah, exactly. So there's also that. So it's like, it's like, particularly if we're going off of that, Robert, it's like, remember the soul of Diana and like Hippolyta was like essentially freed because they were because what's the word? Because it was made because of male violence against women. So again, you're gonna link it indelibly to man. What the hell are you doing? Like, you're taking what makes like Diana unique. You're taking this origin and you are butchering, you're bastardizing it. Tell me you don't understand the Wonder Woman origin without telling me you don't understand the Wonder Woman origin. It is freaking ridiculous when I see him, when like Trinity was born, he did this whole thing on like when he was being interviewed talking about the feminist nature of the clay origin. And then I'm like, if you really thought this was, if you really were trying to homage the feminism of the clay origin, why did you undermine that very same feminism? Like, I'm sorry, you completely destroy it. The way he does it completely wrecks it. Like, that is in no way what the clay origin is supposed to represent. The point of clay origin, again, is that technically Diana is the perfect woman, if you will, because it's like she wasn't touched by man's seed, if you will, for lack of a better term, as Britt so eloquently puts it on our stream. So that's where, again, the King origin utterly fails, because it demonstrates his superficial or just straight up misunderstanding of Diana's place in the world and her role as a superhero. That's what you have to realize. It's like, that's what I wish people realize about this run and such, is that it is the antithesis to Wonder Woman in general. Like, it is generally the antithesis to everything Diana stands for as a character. And as long as, and hopefully when he leaves the book, inevitably, which I would argue is sooner rather than later, he needs to go away. Gotta go talk to you, go do your work. Okay, have a good one, Robert. And thanks for stopping by, man. But yeah, so I'll open the floor to any questions you guys have about Wonder Woman, her world and such. And then just anything you guys would like to talk about, go ahead and drop it in the chat. Just let me know. And then we can talk about literally anything you guys would like to talk about. Just think about it. Issue 29 and 30 will be the only stories that Liz will meet Amazons and Themyscira for the first time. Case, oh yeah, that's the most damning tweet about those 29 to 30 is when people say the fact that 29 to 30 is the first time Trinity is gonna interact with any Amazons. It shows how male-centered the run is, and I go, oh my gosh, that's true. Just look at that. That is the most damning part of that entire crappy run. And it's like, because King doesn't want to tell that story, and I go, well, yeah, but then don't set it up and don't do it. It never ceases to amaze me about how, like, he's like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to use the Gans. I don't want to use the Wonder Girls. Then don't write Wonder Woman. Like, this is really easy, man. This is really simple. But it's like, again, it's like you need to have more of a, you need to have more than a surface level understanding of who Diana is as a character. But then again, it's like, this is the guy that phrased the that took the phrase Diana, Wonder Woman, daughter of Trinity, daughter of Wonder Woman, and was like, this series is about fathers and daughters, because the self-insert of his and his family. That's all King cares about, is self-inserting. But it's like, but it's like, again, with the whole King one, you really need. I wish Tom hadn't had this gigantic ego. All problems would have been solved. No, well, yeah, exactly. But asking Tom King to not have an ego is like asking a human being not to breathe. And that's the thing. The minute he keeps saying about, oh, I know comics, and I go, no, I'm sorry, you don't. If you, let me put it this way, if you have to keep telling people you know comics, I got news for you. You don't know comics. That just shows severe insecurity. And it's like, it's the most transparent thing in the world that you don't know anything about, particularly Wonder Woman. There are specific characters that King does know pretty well, I would argue. But it's like, Wonder Woman is the one that he has no idea what the hell he's doing. And it is so apparent. And the sooner he gets off the book and then we can start repairing the damage that he has done, the sooner we can move along. But yeah, any other questions you guys have? Any other points? It's like, what were your guys' thoughts on John Byrne's Wonder Woman? How does it compare to previous runs? Because currently, I would say it's about, let me see, where would I rank this? I would rank this in easily my top 5 favorite Wonder Woman runs of the ones that I've discussed on the show, for sure. 100%. Byrne had a tough task with this run. Oh, yeah, exactly. And I think he did a pretty decent job with this and what he did. And by the omnibus also includes some other stories that either were based on his stuff or built on it. Like there was a space story where there's this woman that's like traveling in a spaceship. There's the Action Comic 600 where it's the date of Superman and Wonder Woman, but John Byrne had to tank it. His heavy DC. Yeah, isn't that funny, NJ, that in order to get King off the Wonder Woman book, James Gunn has to give him more work. Integrating pre-crisis stuff was not going to be easy. It made an easy target. Yeah, I know. But I think he did it actually fairly well, considering the tall task he had, to your point, Brandon. It really, like, impressed me with how coherent that this run was, despite everything he had to, like, do. It's like that is the crazy part about it. It's like he was somehow able to get all of this done really well, and it never ceases to amaze me everything he was able to like achieve in this run. That's still being referenced today. That's the other thing. It's like if you look at it, yeah, that twin sister stuff didn't work for me, but how is it ever going to work? Yeah, it's true. But it's like the thing again, it's like he managed to fix a lot of the problem with Diana being with there being a Wonder Woman on the JSA, but it's like they don't want Diana to be like ancient anymore, which again, I love that they kept that into canon from like New History, because yeah, it doesn't make sense that Diana is going to be that way. But again, it just never ceases to amaze me at how much he was able to get done in such a short amount of time, because he wasn't on the book for that long. He was only on there for like, I believe it was like 3 years on the run. Yeah, and for that crucial factor, we might get the Wonder Woman relaunch sooner than expected. Praying for, yeah, exactly. Pray for it. The art, however, we went from Perez to John. We were spoiled. I know, right? It's like the art is spectacular in this. It's like, again, that's why I say it's like, at least in terms of art, we never had a run where I'm like, that looks awful. I mean, there were some of them that I didn't enjoy as well as some of the other books, but it's like, oh wow, it's like you could have like completely tanked it artistically wise, but you didn't. And it's like some of the art when it comes to like post-crisis Wonder Woman always has me think, okay, wait a minute, how in the name of heck do you maintain a regular schedule but manage to keep putting out reliably good work? And you wouldn't really like think that like this is like that this is on a monthly schedule. That is the most incredible part of it, where I'm like, oh man, that is so good. What else do you have? He has been on the book for 3 freaking years. He finished just bad. I need that relaunch now. Well, he's been on it for 2 years, but it's like I was talking about John Byrne had a 3-year run, but it's like at the end of this, I would say expect the relaunch to happen around issues 35 to 40. That's where I think he leaves the book and then focuses on his Hollywood stuff, and then occasionally does like let's say mini and maxi series books, and then we can just ignore it completely. And that's the thing about it. If King gets 3 years, I'll lose my mind. I don't. But here's the thing. Again, 2026 is most likely when he's going to leave. Thanks to imagine the state the character's going to be in. I know, right? But it's like it's up to it depends on whoever the next creator is, because it's like the next creator can either make it worse or make it better. I think Kelly Thompson is the most likely to make it better. Kelly Thompson, or can you imagine, again, Jeremy Adams as the next writer of Wonder Woman? He would do a spectacular job as like the Wonder Woman writer, I think. It's like it really depends on who they put on the book, and like, well, what happens with the relaunch and how much they keep as well, because it really again, it's hyper dependent on who comes up, on who becomes the next Wonder Woman writer, because it could be someone good, but it could also be someone not as good. So I don't know. We'll definitely see what happens with that, because I want to be optimistic. I think that we're about to encounter a Wonder Woman renaissance. I could be wrong, but you know what? I'd rather be hopeful than hopeless. Kelly is the safest bet financially and logical wise. Yeah, exactly. Me too. I don't think Kelly is the answer. Well, in terms of like, I'm saying it's like she has the reputation of making Wonder Woman a high selling character with like absolute Wonder Woman. So that's like my point there. Her Bird series was rough. Yeah, but Absolute Wonder Woman is pretty decent. So there is that. Either decent or really good. But yeah, but that's really like the big point that I really want to bring up on that. It's like, it's not as doom and gloom as people may say it is, but it's like, I feel like I feel, yeah, she just gets Wonder Woman. Yeah, okay. But it's like, I definitely feel like DC is just letting him finish his run, because this is what happens with his Batman run. His Batman run concluded, and then they just completely steamrolled through it and like destroyed it. Rightly so. She gets her version of Wonder Woman, and it's fantastic. Yeah, exactly. That's going to be the question, is like, will her skills be able to translate to like regular Wonder Woman? Because that is the concern there. That doesn't always happen, NJ. I'm just going to be clear on that. It can happen, and I'm not going to say it's not going to happen, but I'm just saying it could not. I want to be clear. And Tom gets editors fired. Yeah, that's the other thing. But luckily, hopefully he will be leaving DC Comics, so it's like, that's not that big of a deal there. But we'll certainly see, because it's like, oh my God. I just want the run to end, but I don't want any more Mouse Man in a bathtub BS thing. There's just so much that I like. There's just so much that like I want to see like either undone or fixed in this run, and I'm hoping that they'll be able to do it. Which again, they've repaired characters before, and it's like Jeremy Adams has the reputation of repairing characters that King has utterly destroyed, referencing Wally West. So it's like, because Wally West was like the character that at the time everyone was like, oh, this character is broken. He broke Wally West. And then look what happened. Wally West regained a good portion of his cachet. Yeah, so it's just main Diana with only a few things changed. I'm Mascara's talent. Yeah, exactly. It's like, let me put it this way. Can't be worse than King. That's what I'm going to tell you that right there. But yeah, I think that's a good place to leave it. So I'm going to get the poll going, and then we can pick up, we can decide what we are going to do for next week. So as for next week, Q&A? No, it's a poll. Start a poll. Jeremy is fixing Green Lanterns, but a lot of hand waves. Yeah. Next week's episode. Let me bring this comment down. All right, there you go. So the next week's episode we can do is on, let's do Rucka Rebirth. let's do Children of the Gods, which is a Grail story. It's where they introduced Jason. So we'll do that. Let's do that. And let's see, what's some more stuff that we can do? We can also talk about the Wonder Woman animated movies. Wonder Woman 2009. Yes, to all things Grail, exactly. And Wonder Woman Bloodlines. Let me do this. Okay, poll is up. Let's go. And again, so we have Greg Rucka's Rebirth Wonder Woman run, which, as I like to call it, Rucka's Afterbirth, because it's like a horrible reintroduction of Wonder Woman that completely that he tanked the character. Let's face it. And then we have the Children of the God story is the introduction of Jason, and it's a Grail. It's a story where Grail and Darkseid are the villains. And then you have the Wonder Woman 2009 animated movie, and then the Wonder Woman Bloodlines animated movie. So there's like a lot of fun stuff that we can talk about there. So it'd be about all the animated movies. So go ahead and vote about that. So far we have a vote for Children of the Gods. So let's go off of that. So tell me what you got. Relaunch in early 2026. That's my bet. What do you think? 2026 for sure. In terms of like early, well, let me put it to you this way. Let's pay attention to the solicit language, because if we look at it, the way I kind of can see this happening is when we get into 2026, like January or so, and the solicits start coming out, I think we'll eventually get like a solicit for like the issue that says, hey, their penultimate run or like their last thing begins with this issue. That's when I think that we'll get the whole end of his Wonder Woman run. Is like if the solicit starts saying that like the run concludes with this issue, then we're done. That's the other reason why I didn't believe that the Stephanie Williams 29 and 30 issues were the end and she was taken over, because it would have been noted in the description, in like the solicit itself. But yeah, so far we have a half and half for Children of the Gods and Wonder Woman 2009. So I got 2 votes, and there's 4 people in here. So go check out. Okay, so Children of the Gods has gained another vote, so it's gained the lead. And again, all of this is going to be covered eventually. It's just for right now, I'm deciding on what next week's episode is going to be. But yeah, so while that happens, I'll give you guys my little promo. It's that, so obviously, consider backing or sharing Athena, the goddess of thunder, with anyone that you think would be interested. And in terms of like what's next? Oh yeah, in terms of like Wonder Woman content coming out this week, Wonder Woman Wednesday. I'm considering doing the if Absolute Wonder Woman met main Wonder Woman, what would like that conversation be like? for movie night, we're talking about The Suicide Squad, the James Gunn movie. And then in terms of like Super Wonder Legacy, Britt and I are going to be talking about the wedding of Superman and Wonder Woman. And then in terms of obviously next week, it looks like it's going to be Children of the Gods. So I'll go off of that for right now, Children of the Gods. And then UTC, Robert and I are going to be comparing the old history of the DC universe to the new history of the DC universe and talking about both stories. But yeah, and then I think because of his DCU workload relaunch in early 2026 is highly possible. Let's hope for the best. Yeah. Let's hope for it. Let's definitely hope for it. 100%. But yeah, so we'll see what happens in 2026. But anyway, guys, so I'm gonna end I'm going to end the poll soon. So the last person that hasn't voted yet, or you guys on Twitter, if you want to vote, go to the YouTube channel for Comics League and cast your vote. And then we will wrap this crazy train up. While the final tallies come in, I'm going to play the trailer for Athena one more time.
My home has been invaded, my people slaughtered, and I could not do anything to stop it. Not again. I will not lose another home, another family. I am Princess Lyra of the planet Sutragar, Athena, the goddess of thunder, and this is my story.
And by NJ asks, do you think it will start with Next Level or sooner? Could be slightly later because to conclude his story, but I do think the relaunch that was hinted at by Rich Johnson, like after New York Comic Con, I do think that is going to come for Wonder Woman because while the sales are not utterly tanking, they're not good enough to sustain it. That's what I will tell you with that. With Wonder Woman being like this character that, at least according to Zaslav, DC is trying to like emphasize more. I think it's highly likely that the relaunch is part of that. But anyway, we'll see what happens with that. You never know, but I don't know. So that's where I'm gonna leave it. And looks like we're doing Children of the Gods by, I forget who it was. Hang on, I have the trade, so let me see that. It is by Robinson. So it is James Robinson's Wonder Woman run. All right, I really can't wait to read that because it's one of my favorite Rebirth era Wonder Woman books. And yeah, I will see you guys later. Remember, Steve Trevor, Steve Never. He belongs. He belongs to the bottom of a hydraulic press. Zois the Max about for life. I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.